and I had to. I think the worst part was when I thought like when I lose my looks, I don't have anything left.
But if we want to have good mental health and we want to learn to train our intuition, you're also going to have to do certain things. So I call this the ABC of rapid relaxation. People. Which people in your life make you connect to yourself, or which people make you disconnect to yourself?
It's like eye-openers that I never knew.
You're also looking at me. Ik denk, je moet eens toch daar kijken. Dan moet je toch tegen hen zeggen.
Yeah. Mental health is one of the most important subjects in my life. I wanted to create a video series where I talk about it with Dr. Louise Lagendijk. I just think the knowledge that you have could be super helpful for a lot of people, and that's why we're making a video today.
First of all, hi, my name is Dr. Louise Lagendijk. I'm a medical doctor and I'm an expert on women's health. It's my mission to educate women on how their bodies and minds work so that we can take extreme care of them and then also rise ourselves up to our fullest potential. We're planning on making a whole series, so please let us know if there's anything that comes up and you feel that that's something that you may have questions about or that we can address for you. But we've got a whole series of questions that we got lined up for ourselves, right?
Yeah, I want to know all the answers too, so let's get started.
When is it that you became aware that mental health was important in your life?
I just was living life and I just never thought about mental health or what it's doing or what was going on in my mind even. But then I started feeling not good enough because of the modeling industry and everything. I was living by myself a lot and I was overthinking. I got to a psychologist because I was at the doctor and they said I had a depression. She taught me a lot about thoughts. That's when I started doing research myself as well. I was reading about happiness and feelings, about the law of attraction and about anything I could find that was about mental health and happiness. And I think that's when I became more passionate about this subject.
When you said, when I started to not feel enough in the modeling world, and what do you believe was the thing that triggered you most in thinking you were not enough?
In every city I needed to change something. In Paris I needed to be more pale and then more skinny, and in LA I needed to be more curvy because the jean sizes wouldn't fit when I was too skinny. Well, I was working still in every country, but just the agencies are so strict. Like they tell you that. When I came back my skin got bad because I was stressing, because I was worried about not having enough work, just overthinking all the time because I was alone a lot. Because I always thought, oh, nobody wants to know or hear about my struggles, so I'm just keeping them to myself. I think the worst part was when I thought like when I lose my looks, I don't have anything left. I was modeling since I was a baby, so I was modeling my whole life. And always when I looked good, then the client was happy, everything was good, you know? So I thought like, okay, I have pimples now because I'm stressing way too much. So I was just overthinking, and then I was also overthinking that what do I have left if I don't have my looks? I finally thought I had everything perfect, and then I was too short, you know? but I was like, that was really true.
I'm laughing about this, but it's because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's almost, it really is almost funny that you, and this is something brilliant because this is also how our mind works. At a certain point, when we have this, right, this perfect hair color, when we have these perfect blue eyes, when we have all these boxes that we think
Perfect
we
body,
should, the perfect body, then we'll be happy. And that's why I think it's really fun because and then turns out you were too short, because that's how life is, right? The moment that we think that we have our entire checkbox of once I found my passion, once I know, you know, the love of my life and the house and the car and everything that people think is important exterior, but also in how we look and everything, and then it turns out that's not true.
Yeah.
Because it's not where happiness is.
Not sharing your thoughts with other people, that's also why I want to, you know, talk about it and make people more able to talk about it, because it's normal, you know, to struggle. It can be so helpful if you talk to people.
Yes. You don't have to be depressed to be struggling in mental health, right? We all have a mind, we all have thoughts, and mental health is just a very big part of our general health. In the first place, we know how to take care of our bodies, right? That's what we learned somehow. Yet we didn't really learn how to take care of our minds. That's not something that we learn.
How does stress work in the body and in the mind? Because I don't know where it comes from and why it even exists.
I'll elaborate a little bit on this. Stress doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It's gotten a very bad rap, as in that it is the worst that we can experience, but there is something called positive stress. It's the kind of stress that you experience right before you're going to do a presentation, or whenever you feel that, something exciting is happening and you feel that, that beating in your heart and your hands are a little bit shaky. That's the kind of stress you want. You want that stress because it takes care of memory retrieval, so you'll be able to think faster.
Yeah.
You'll be able to connect the dots more easily.
Wow, cool. Is that adrenaline?
That's adrenaline, exactly. So what then happens is that there is also that kind of stress. That's the thing that we have in our autonomic nervous system, the nervous system which takes care of our breathing, our heartbeat, everything that has to do with the digestive system, and we don't have to do anything for it. I mean, it's not like we say to our heart, hey, how about you keep beating? It just does it, right? It's the miracle of the body. So the sympathetic nervous system is the action nervous system. That's where adrenaline comes in. And adrenaline is the hormone that is just immediately triggered whenever we're about to, for instance, walk on the street and you're about to hit a car and you're able to jump back like that. That's when all of a sudden all the blood goes to your muscles, the blood goes into your heart, your lungs expand, you're able to really, to flight. Also what happens is that sometimes you freeze. This can also happen when the stress gets a little bit too high. Remember when you have a presentation and you're like completely blanking? That's that same system. It's the sympathetic nervous system. And it's a beautiful system because it's what protects us from our, ancient tigers that were running after us. And when these tigers are running after you, you want to have your fight-flight response. But what happens nowadays is that we do not necessarily know the difference anymore between a tiger and our cell phone, because it gives continuous triggers of potential stress. It could be places, people, it can be physical stress.
But even when it's not like life dangerous, it still can cause the same stress.
Yes. When you're here in balance, right? You get a perceived threat of something that could happen, or it could be your boss who's going to call you and say, hey, I need this room right now, and your stress trigger goes up. Then you're here. That's something that we normally wouldn't have if we're this is when you were completely relaxed. But what you want is you want to have that stress trigger go down again. Now that's the other system, the parasympathetic.
So you have to do things every day-ish to get it down?
Yes, actually yes. That's a very good conclusion. Because what happens is if we keep it in the peak, the acute stress, fine, you can deal with it, right? It's normal. We can deal with it if we have acute stress. But what happens if we don't bring the trigger down by stimulating the relaxation response, that's what it's called, then you can have continuous stress, and then it becomes chronic, and then there's another hormone that comes with that, and that's cortisol. And cortisol is in the tops of your kidneys, that's where it's being made, in the adrenal glands. And if you have continuous high cortisol, leads to a numerous amount of problems, especially in women, right? Bad skin, weight gain, problems getting pregnant, cardiovascular disease, depression, all that. And it's really just a matter of bringing down the curve through the relaxation response, because we have this system in the body. So
is it also that you can feel your intuition and stuff clearer when you're not stressed?
Yes, absolutely.
When it's more down, so you're more connected?
Absolutely. This is really beautiful. It's a very good question, because the parasympathetic nervous system, so the rest and digest system, is linked to the biggest nerve in your body. There's a nerve that goes from the head all the way down to the gut. So they say that this has to do with the gut-brain connection, and that the gut feeling, right, of knowing it in your gut has to do with this particular nerve. This is how it communicates back to the brain. Well, you can trigger this. How can you
I need to know this.
I'm going to tell you.
This is so important for me.
I'm going to tell you.
I know I need to follow it, but I just doubt about what is best. Like, I don't know. Like, I overthink it, and then I know.
I know, this is super. I think that there are so many people who have a need to start to listen to that voice within, if you will. To start to
Because that's
be
literally
more...
what's bringing you happiness.
Absolutely.
If you make the decision followed by your gut.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's harder than you think.
So this is a little bit of training. And I think this is important in mental health in the first place. When we want abs, we know that we need to go to the gym. But if we want to have good mental health and we want to learn to train our intuition, you're also going to have to do certain things.
What ways are there to bring it down so you can follow your intuition better?
So I call this the ABC of rapid relaxation. The first one, the A, is always awareness. First, everything that gets us out of our centered state is important to know so that we do not do that. And it may sound redundant, but 9 out of 10 times we do not know our P's. And by our P's, I mean which places trigger us. It can be certain environments. It can be the grocery store. It can be big spaces with many people in them. People. Which people in your life are you with that make you connect to yourself? Or which people make you disconnect to yourself? This is very important.
How do you know if a person disconnects you when you don't know at the moment if it
That's a good
disconnects
one.
you?
Yeah, that's a very good one. If you talk to somebody and you hear yourself saying yes but, yes but, yes but
That's interesting.
all the time, you're probably talking with somebody on a different frequency. Because when you go yes and, yes and, yes and, you're most probably agreeing. So that
it feels good.
So it feels good. And now, I'm not saying that you cannot have discussions, because that's really important. I'm just saying, find people in the first place who you feel that you don't have to work that hard for. Because if things just go easily, that's the path of least resistance.
Interesting. And what was the awareness? And then the second thing...
Breathing.
Breathing? That's such a big
Breathing.
thing, right?
Breathing, breathing, breathing. I cannot stress this enough.
I feel like that's so important, and
It's everything. Breathing is scientifically proven to lower your cortisol, to lower your cholesterol, to improve your sleep.
Oh my god.
To help you lose weight. It's insane. Why is
because
that?
it creates awareness, or?
No, because it helps us relax. It relaxes
So it brings down the curve.
sympathetic nerves. It brings down the curve. See, right?
But you
You're
do
like,
it all the time.
I thought there was like this is interesting. You do it all the time,
but not aware.
Yeah. And what's beautiful about this is we breathe about 10 to 15 times a minute. But what we want to do to literally bring it down is 6 times per minute. And this is the way to do it. You breathe in through your nose. And you breathe out through your mouth, purse your lips.
Why do your mouth? Because it's more...
Because when you purse your lips, you create more pressure in the lungs.
Oh.
And there are nerve cells in the lungs, in the bronchioles, which are the lung cells. And they're directly connected to this particular nerve.
No way.
Yes.
Why didn't I know that?
Because that's why we're here.
Oh my god. Okay.
So
I'm gonna do this every day.
yeah, please do. Yeah.
But I always think like you do it every day, and like I do it sometimes like really quickly, and I be aware of the breathing when I meditate. I never thought it could have a big impact.
Huge. When we start to really breathe, people forget to breathe. We like you say so clearly, but it's what I do every day. Like you do it all the time. But the thing is that we do not actually use the breath to calm down the nervous system, because we don't know why we would want to do that. Well, why we want to do that is we want to calm down the nervous system so that you can tap into your intuition more easily. We breathe in for 4 through the nose. Hold 2, 3, and then out, all the way out, all the way out, all the way out. Especially the exhale stimulates this particular nerve.
And how many times do you do that? Or
As often as you like.
Oh, just whenever feels good.
Whatever feels good, but I really prefer, and then I come to the last one, which is the C, connecting. When we connect to ourselves and others, we stimulate a hormone that's called oxytocin.
That's no way you say connecting now. That's funny.
Why is that?
Because I thought when I was disconnected to everyone, that's when I got depressed.
Exactly. We know that people who are lonely, who experience loneliness, live 50% shorter than other people. It's a huge
And also now in this time, people need to also stay aware that they still need to connect with people instead of being isolated.
Absolutely, it's so important. It boosts our immune system, right? When we're connected to other people, we have higher levels of serotonin, which is our feel-good, happy, well-being hormone, especially on a physical level also, right? When we have human touch, which is also really important right now to stimulate people to still have human touch, even though we are distancing.
But my psychologist always told me that you can rub
Yes,
yourself
you
and have the same human feeling, like
Yes.
how do you say it? The benefits of a cuddle, like with yourself.
100%.
Sometimes when I'm like having a bother in bed, I'm like doing this, just this, and I'm like, I'm still following her advice.
Yes, and it's true.
But I don't know if it works,
It's
but
true.
I still do it sometimes. And it feels really weird, and the thought is also really weird.
But it works. There have been numerous studies done on the effect of touch.
Talking about being your own best friend.
We are, and this is one of the ways, you know, if we're going to talk self-love in another part, one of the ways to really connect to yourself is to just have physical touch. When we touch other people or when we touch ourselves, we create this hormone called oxytocin, right? Which is
This is also
people
so
call
interesting.
the cuddle hormone, the hormone that is being produced, and also serotonin is released. Again, this helps to boost the immune system. So it makes you healthy.
I get it now. It's lowering the curve of stress.
Yes, and it's extremely important for health. It really is.
These are like life-changing tips for me, so I'm like super excited to continue and to practice all of this. It's like eye-openers that I never knew. I'm like, why did nobody tell me before? Why didn't I learn this somewhere? So interesting.
And I'm so happy to do it with you. And we'll talk about bigger ones as well. We'll talk about, you know, how to love yourself deeply. Everybody knows that's like, oh, the self-love part.
This
we'll
is what we need to know.
We'll talk about it on the next one.
Thank you for watching, and you can subscribe if you want to see all the other videos, because we have so much more coming for you. Let us know if you have questions or if you like this video, and definitely check out at the Core Women Care, because that's her page about all those things. It's super interesting. Yeah, till next time.
All right. Bye.